Hi guys, tonight, we travel back into the world's most forgotten history. Close your eyes, relax, and drift into history. Welcome to another quiet journey through the past. Tonight's story begins in a distant forgotten age, where the desert stretches beyond the horizon and the Nile moves slowly beneath the first pale light of dawn. This is boring history for sleep. Relax, and step gently into the ancient world. Long before the day's voices rise, before donkeys begin their steady walks along dusty roads, before smoke curls upward from hundreds of cooking fires, Egypt is almost perfectly still. The stars remain above the river for a little while longer. A soft breeze slips over the water and wanders across fields of dark earth that were left behind by the Nile's gentle flooding. It carries the cool feeling of night into villages built from sun-dried mud bricks. Tiny windows remain dark. Wooden doors stay closed. Clay jars stand quietly beside them, waiting for another ordinary day. Nothing rushes here. The land has learned patience. Year after year, season after season, the river follows its familiar path. People wake, work, eat, rest, and sleep beneath the same wide sky their grandparents once knew. Children grow into adults while watching the same sunrise over the eastern bank. Old people sit outside their homes and remember mornings that looked almost exactly like this one. There is comfort in such steady rhythms. It is not because every day is easy. Life asks much from every pair of hands. The sun grows hot. Bodies become tired. Feet ache after long hours on rough ground. Bread must be baked every morning. Water must be carried every afternoon. Fields demand attention. Animals need care. Walls must be repaired after dry winds wear them away. Yet beneath every task is something deeper. There is a quiet trust that tomorrow will arrive much like today. That steady feeling shapes almost every part of life in ancient Egypt. As the first thin line of sunlight reaches the eastern horizon, one household begins to wake. Inside a small mud brick home, several family members sleep on woven reed mats spread across the floor. Linen blankets lie folded nearby after the coolness of night has faded. The air smells faintly of dry earth, old straw, and the ashes from yesterday's cooking fire. A mother opens her eyes first. She listens. No one speaks. Only distant insects and the soft breathing of sleeping children fill the room. She rises carefully so she does not wake everyone at once. Her sandals touch the cool packed earth floor. The simple sound is almost lost inside the quiet house. Outside, another breeze moves through narrow streets between homes built close together. Their walls are smooth but imperfect. Small cracks have appeared over many summers. Every family repairs them whenever time allows. There is always another wall to patch, another roof to strengthen with fresh reeds and mud. Nothing remains perfect forever. But everything can be cared for. The woman steps outside carrying a clay jar. She walks toward a nearby well where only a few others have arrived. No one speaks loudly. There is no need. The day has barely begun, and voices naturally stay soft beneath the fading stars. Water pours slowly into jars with a gentle hollow sound. The cool weight settles inside the pottery. Soon she begins the walk home again, balancing the vessel with practiced ease. She has made this journey thousands of times. Her mother made it before her. One day her daughter may do the same. Routine passes quietly from one generation to another. Nearby, another home begins to stir. An older man stretches his stiff shoulders after another night on a woven mat. Years of lifting stones, carrying baskets, and working beneath the sun have slowly changed the shape of his body. His hands are rough. His knees complain every morning before they loosen with movement. He rubs sleep from his eyes and steps outside. The eastern sky grows brighter. Birds begin calling along the riverbank. Somewhere in the distance, cattle shift inside simple fences made from wooden posts. Another ordinary day has arrived. There is comfort in ordinary days. Much of history remembers kings. It remembers temples. It remembers monuments that still rise above the desert. Yet those great works rested upon millions of ordinary mornings exactly like this one. The people who built stability rarely appeared inside carved stone. They simply woke before sunrise. They mixed clay. They baked bread. They harvested grain. They repaired fishing nets. They measured fields after the river withdrew. They swept dusty floors. They carried children. They comforted tired parents. Again and again. The greatness of Egypt was not built in moments of excitement. It was built through quiet repetition. As more sunlight reaches the village, smoke begins rising from cooking fires. The smell of fresh bread slowly fills the air. Grain has already been ground into flour using heavy stone querns. Women kneel beside them, moving one stone against another in steady circles. The work is slow and demanding. Fine dust settles across their hands and forearms. The sound becomes part of the morning. Stone against stone. A soft scraping rhythm. Nearby, dough is shaped into simple loaves. Clay ovens, warmed by yesterday's embers and fresh fuel, slowly bring them to life. Warm bread is among the first comforts of the day. Even before the heat becomes heavy, the smell spreads through narrow streets and open courtyards. Children wake more slowly now. Some rub their eyes while still wrapped in linen. Others hurry outside, already full of quiet curiosity. Their world is small. The nearby fields. The river. The workshop. The family home. The familiar faces they have known all their lives. Many will never travel very far. They do not expect to. Everything needed for life already surrounds them. Beyond the village, farmers begin walking toward their fields. They carry simple wooden tools over their shoulders. Sandals press gentle patterns into dusty paths that countless feet have followed before. The Nile has left behind rich black soil after its yearly flood. That gift makes life possible. Without the river, little could grow. With it, grain rises steadily beneath the sun. Each farmer understands this quiet partnership with the land. The river provides. People respond with work. Neither can succeed without the other. The fields remain peaceful during the early morning. Only the rustle of reeds and distant birds disturb the silence. Oxen pull simple plows through soft earth. Seeds fall patiently into prepared ground. Hands scatter them with practiced movements requiring almost no thought after years of repetition. Children sometimes help. They learn by watching. No long lessons are needed. Life itself becomes the teacher. Nearby, fishermen prepare their boats. Small vessels rest against the gentle current. Their wooden hulls carry marks from years upon the water. Each scratch tells of another ordinary journey. Each repair shows careful attention rather than perfection. Fishing nets are examined before leaving shore. Knots are tightened. Small tiers are repaired. Nothing useful is wasted. The river rewards careful people. The boats drift quietly into morning mist. Oars dip slowly beneath the surface. Ripples spread outward before disappearing once more. Everything returns to stillness. The Nile rarely hurries. Its calm movement shapes the thoughts of those who live beside it. A person who spends every day watching slow water begins to carry some of that quiet inside themselves. Hours pass gently. The sun climbs higher. Warmth becomes heat. The village grows busier. Artisans open their workshops. Potters shape wet clay beneath steady fingers. Carpenters smooth rough wood. Weavers guide linen threads across simple looms. Metal workers heat copper until it glows softly before hammering useful tools into shape. None of these tasks happen quickly. Good work asks for patience. Each craft improves little by little over many years. A young apprentice watches closely. His teacher rarely explains everything with words. Instead, knowledge lives inside movement. Watch the hands. Watch the pressure. Watch the timing. Do it again tomorrow. And the day after. Eventually the body remembers. That is how skill survives. Not through books alone, but through ordinary people teaching ordinary people. In another corner of the settlement, a scribe unrolls fresh papyrus. He smooths the surface carefully. Ink waits nearby inside small containers. His reed pen rests lightly between his fingers. Writing is quiet work. It asks for careful breathing. Measured thoughts. Patient attention. Numbers are recorded. Supplies counted. Grain measured. Workers listed. Nothing dramatic appears upon the page. Yet these small records help hold an entire society together. Stability is often invisible. It lives inside simple habits repeated faithfully. A loaf counted correctly. A field measured honestly. A shipment arriving when expected. These tiny moments build trust between strangers. As the morning continues, the heat grows stronger. Sunlight reflects from pale stone walls. The air begins to shimmer above open ground. People wrap linen more closely around their heads. Shadows become precious. Even a narrow strip beside a wall offers welcome relief. No one argues with the sun. Everyone adapts instead. Work continues at a slower pace. Movements become deliberate. Energy is carefully protected. Water jars stand ready beneath shaded shelters. Each drink feels valuable. The coolness disappears quickly after leaving the clay vessel. Still, it refreshes tired bodies for another hour. The day stretches onward with remarkable steadiness. No great announcement interrupts it. No sudden change transforms it. For most people living here, history is not made through extraordinary events. History is simply another morning becoming another afternoon. And somehow, through countless ordinary afternoons, an extraordinary civilization quietly endures. The afternoon settles gently across the valley. The bright sun now stands high above the land, pouring its warmth over fields, villages, workshops, and quiet stretches of the Nile. Shadows have grown short. The breeze that wandered so freely before sunrise now moves more slowly, carrying only small moments of relief through narrow streets lined with mud brick walls. The pace of life changes almost without anyone noticing. No bell announces the hour. No voice calls everyone together. The people simply feel the day in their own bodies. The warmth against their shoulders. The dryness in their mouths. The steady pull of tired muscles. These quiet signs tell them more than any clock ever could. A farmer pauses beside the edge of his field. He places his wooden tool upon the ground and straightens his back very slowly. His shoulders have carried many seasons of work. The muscles across his arms have become strong without anyone ever speaking about strength. His hands, rough with calluses, hold the memory of countless harvests. He looks toward the Nile. Even from this distance, the river seems calm. Its surface catches the sunlight in long ribbons of silver. The water never appears hurried. It simply continues its patient journey northward, just as it has for generations beyond memory. For many people in Egypt, that quiet movement becomes a kind of promise. As long as the river continues its familiar path, life itself continues. Children will grow. Fields will bloom. Bread will rise inside warm ovens. Families will gather beneath evening skies. The seasons may change, but the rhythm remains. The farmer bends once more to his work. There is comfort in returning to familiar movements. Nearby, another family works together beneath a shelter made from wooden poles and woven reeds. The shade is thin, but it softens the fierce brightness of the afternoon. A grandmother carefully separates grain from chaff using a woven basket. She lifts it with slow, practiced hands, allowing the breeze to carry away the lighter pieces while the heavier grain falls back into the basket. She has done this so many times that she barely thinks about each movement. Her body already knows. Beside her, two younger women grind fresh grain between heavy stones. The work is steady. Forward. Back. Forward. Back. The rhythm almost resembles breathing. Tiny clouds of flour gather around their hands. Their arms grow tired, but they continue without complaint. Every loaf of bread begins here. Before anyone can eat, someone must grind the grain. Every meal carries the hidden labor of many quiet hours. One child watches carefully. He is too young to help much, but he notices everything. He watches the turning stone, the patient hands, the dust that settles across linen clothing, the careful way his grandmother examines every handful of grain. Without realizing it, he is already learning. No formal lesson is taking place. The afternoon itself is the lesson. Learning often happens this way. A child observes. An adult repeats. Another season passes. Years later, the child performs the same task with quiet confidence. Knowledge flows gently through generations like the Nile itself. Not all work takes place beneath the open sky. Inside a cool workshop built with thick mud brick walls, a potter sits before a lump of soft clay. The room feels pleasantly dim after the brightness outside. Only a narrow opening near the roof allows sunlight to enter. The beam of light catches tiny particles of dust drifting lazily through the air. The potter wets his hands. The clay turns beneath careful fingers. There is nothing hurried in the process. Each gentle touch shapes the vessel little by little. The walls become thinner. The opening becomes round. The base grows stronger. Small imperfections appear. Some are corrected. Others remain. Every handmade vessel carries tiny reminders that real hands created it. Rows of finished jars stand quietly along one wall. Some will carry water. Others will store grain. Some will protect cooking oil from the heat. A few may travel by boat to distant settlements. Most, however, will remain close to home, serving ordinary families through ordinary years. A single clay jar may last through countless meals. Children may drink from it. Parents may fill it every morning. Grandparents may rest beside it during warm afternoons. Simple objects become silent companions to everyday life. In another workshop, the steady tapping of copper tools fills the air. A metal worker heats a small blade until it glows with a soft orange light. Carefully he lifts it with simple tongs and places it upon a smooth stone. The hammer rises. Then falls. Not with violence. Only with quiet precision. Each strike has purpose. Too hard, and the metal may crack. Too soft, and it remains unfinished. Years of experience guide every movement. Nearby, a young apprentice watches without speaking. He has already learned that watching closely is sometimes more valuable than asking questions. His teacher notices every detail. The angle of the hammer. The color of heated metal. The changing sound as the copper becomes thinner. Even the smallest difference matters. Skill grows slowly. Not through excitement. Not through sudden discovery. But through calm repetition carried across many seasons. Outside, the dusty streets remain busy. Merchants walk beneath the afternoon sun carrying woven baskets filled with onions, dates, figs, and fresh vegetables gathered from nearby fields. Some guide donkeys loaded with sacks of grain. Others balance bundles across their shoulders. The conversations remain gentle. There is little reason to shout. Everyone understands the pace of the day. Business happens one careful exchange at a time. A merchant greets a familiar customer. Neither appears surprised to see the other. Many of these faces have known one another for decades. Trust grows naturally in places where people remain together for many years. Children become adults beside neighbors who watched them take their first steps. Families celebrate births together. They mourn losses together. They rebuild walls after storms together. Stability is more than peace. It is the quiet confidence that familiar faces will still be there tomorrow. The marketplace carries many sounds, yet none feel overwhelming. Soft footsteps. Low voices. The gentle braying of donkeys. The creaking of wooden wheels. The rustling of woven baskets. Clay vessels touching one another with hollow notes. These sounds rise together into a calm rhythm rather than a noisy crowd. The air smells of warm bread, fresh vegetables, dry reeds, baked clay, and the faint sweetness of ripe dates. Dust hangs gently in the sunlight. No one seems bothered by it. Dust belongs here. It settles upon clothing, sandals, baskets, rooftops, and even carefully written scrolls. By evening it will cover nearly everything. Tomorrow it will return again. No one expects otherwise. Farther along the riverbank, fishermen return from the morning's work. Their boats drift toward shore with steady ease. Inside lie baskets holding fish of different sizes, enough to feed families and supply the nearby market. The fishermen move carefully. The day has already taken much of their strength. One man kneels beside his net before unloading anything else. A few strands have broken. He begins repairing them immediately. Small repairs today prevent greater trouble tomorrow. This simple habit appears everywhere in Egypt. Walls are patched. Sandals are stitched. Roof reeds are replaced. Broken handles receive new bindings. Nothing useful is thrown away simply because it has grown old. Everything receives another chance to serve. That careful attitude stretches beyond objects. It shapes people as well. Older workers continue teaching. Grandparents continue caring for children. Experience itself becomes valuable. Age brings slower steps, but also deeper understanding. In one quiet courtyard, an elderly woman sits weaving linen. The loom stands before her like an old friend. Her fingers move almost effortlessly. Thread passes over thread. The cloth slowly grows longer. The work asks for patience more than strength. Children sit nearby, playing quietly with small carved toys made from scraps of wood. Occasionally one wanders close to watch the weaving. The grandmother smiles without interrupting her work. She remembers watching her own grandmother many years before. Some memories become traditions simply because they are repeated with kindness. As afternoon slowly leans toward evening, workers on a distant building site begin gathering their tools. The day's labor has been demanding. Large stones have been shaped. Heavy baskets filled with rubble have been carried beneath relentless sunlight. Foremen have measured carefully. Scribes have counted supplies. Teams have worked together with quiet coordination. Many later generations will admire the finished monuments. Far fewer will imagine these ordinary afternoons. The tired feet. The dusty faces. The simple meals eaten beneath temporary shade. The laughter shared during short moments of rest. The aching shoulders carried home each evening. Great buildings stand because ordinary people return to work day after day. There was rarely a single remarkable afternoon. Only thousands of peaceful, demanding ones. One worker lifts a clay water jar for the final time before leaving. He drinks slowly. The water feels warm now, but still welcome. He wipes his forehead with a linen cloth already darkened by dust. Around him, companions gather wooden tools. No one rushes. Tomorrow they will return. The stones will still be waiting. The work will continue. There is no anxiety in that thought. Only acceptance. The sun begins its gradual descent. The light softens almost without warning. Harsh brightness becomes gentle gold. Long shadows stretch across fields and village streets. The heat slowly loosens its grip upon the land. Birds return to the reeds beside the Nile. The evening breeze awakens once again, cooler than before. People notice it immediately. Faces relax. Conversations become a little longer. Children who spent the hottest hours beneath shade now run happily through open spaces, their laughter floating softly through the village. Parents watch without concern. The day's hardest work is nearly finished. A shepherd guides goats back towards simple enclosures built from reeds and wooden posts. The animals know the path well. Dust rises gently around their feet. A dog follows behind, stopping now and then to encourage a wandering goat back toward the group. Nothing dramatic happens. There is no need. The evening itself feels complete simply by arriving. Smoke rises once again from cooking fires. Families prepare another meal. Clay pots rest above glowing coals. Vegetables simmer slowly. Fresh bread warms beside the fire. Fish caught only hours earlier begin to cook. The smells drift through the village together, blending into one familiar fragrance that tells everyone the day is drawing toward its peaceful close. One by one, workers return home. Sandals leave dusty prints upon stone thresholds. Children greet fathers, mothers, older brothers, and sisters. Simple conversations fill the small homes. Someone asks about the fields. Another speaks quietly of the market. Someone else mentions repairing a roof tomorrow before the next hot afternoon arrives. These are not grand discussions. Yet they are the conversations that quietly sustain a civilization. Outside, the Nile continues flowing beneath the deepening colors of the sky. The river has watched another ordinary day unfold. It has seen fishermen leave before dawn. Farmers tend their fields. Merchants trade. Builders lift stone. Children learn from parents. Families gather again before night. Tomorrow it will witness much the same. And that sameness, repeated with patience through countless generations, becomes one of ancient Egypt's greatest strengths, not through moments of glory, but through the peaceful certainty that life, though demanding, would continue with its familiar and comforting rhythm. The light continues to soften as the sun slowly lowers toward the western desert. Across the fields, the sharp brightness of afternoon gives way to long bands of golden color that stretch over the earth. The air remains warm, but the hardest heat has passed. A gentle breeze rises from the Nile and wanders through rows of reeds before finding the narrow streets of the village. People notice the change without speaking about it. Bodies that carried the weight of the day begin to loosen. Shoulders settle. Breathing becomes slower. The work is not completely finished, but the busiest hours have quietly slipped away. A farmer rests both hands upon the handle of his wooden tool and looks across the land one last time before walking home. The field is not perfect. A few places still need attention tomorrow. Small weeds remain near the edges. The soil will need watching over the coming days. There is always another task waiting. Yet that thought does not trouble him. No one expects every job to be finished before sunset. Life here is measured over seasons rather than hours. Tomorrow belongs to tomorrow. The path leading back toward the village has been shaped by thousands of footsteps. Dust lies soft beneath worn sandals. Small stones press gently against tired feet. The farmer has walked this same road nearly every evening for many years. Sometimes alone. Sometimes beside neighbors. Sometimes carrying tools. Sometimes carrying baskets of grain. The road has become as familiar as the lines upon his hands. He could almost walk it with his eyes closed. Nearby, another group returns from the river. Their fishing boats have already been pulled safely onto the bank, resting above the reach of the gentle water. The nets have been washed and spread carefully to dry before darkness settles over the valley. One fisherman pauses to inspect a wooden oar. The smooth handle has become thinner after years of use. A small crack has begun to appear near one end. He turns it slowly in the fading light. It will need repairing before too many more journeys. He does not think of replacing it. The wood has served him faithfully. A careful repair will allow it to serve again. This quiet habit can be seen everywhere across Egypt. A woven basket receives a new handle. A broken stool gains another wooden leg. A roof is covered with fresh reeds before the old ones completely fail. People care for what they have. Resources require effort to gather. Nothing useful is treated carelessly. As evening grows closer, the sounds of labor begin to change. The steady scraping of stone against stone becomes less frequent. The tapping of copper hammers slows. Voices inside workshops become quieter. Doors remain open to invite the cooling air inside. The smell of clay, wood, warm dust, and fresh cut reeds drifts gently through the streets. Inside a weaving workshop, several women finish the final rows of linen before putting away their tools. The loom stands silent for the first time since morning. Threads remain stretched tightly across its wooden frame, waiting patiently for another day. One woman carefully folds completed cloth. Another brushes loose fibers from the floor. Nothing is rushed simply because the day is ending. Every tool has its place. Every piece of cloth deserves careful handling. Order saves effort tomorrow. In another part of the settlement, a young apprentice remains beside his teacher. Most of today's work has already been completed, yet the older craftsman continues explaining small details that cannot be learned from watching alone. He runs his fingers across a finished wooden bowl. The surface feels smooth. Almost smooth enough. He hands it back to the apprentice. The younger man gently rubs another section with fine sand. Only then does the teacher nod. Neither smiles very much. Approval here is often quiet. Words are used carefully. Praise is gentle. Correction is gentle too. Learning grows best in calm places. Outside, children still play beneath the warm evening sky. They chase one another around mud brick homes. Some gather smooth stones for simple games. Others use sticks to draw shapes in the dust. Their laughter rises for a few moments before fading once more. Parents watch from nearby doorways while preparing the evening meal. No one seems hurried. Darkness is still some distance away. There is time. Time to finish cooking. Time to wash dusty hands. Time to feed the animals. Time to sit together before sleep. An older woman kneels beside a clay oven. The warmth from the fire reaches her face. She gently removes fresh loaves of bread with practiced hands. Their crusts have turned a deep golden color. The smell spreads quickly through the courtyard. Nearby, lentils simmer inside a clay pot over glowing coals. A handful of herbs adds a quiet fragrance. Another small pot contains onions that have softened slowly during the afternoon. Nothing about the meal is extravagant. It does not need to be. Simple food prepared with care has sustained families here for countless generations. Children gather as the meal is arranged. They sit close together upon woven mats. The oldest waits patiently. The youngest shifts with quiet excitement, already noticing the warm bread resting beside the pot. An elderly grandfather joins them slowly. His knees no longer bend as easily as they once did. Years of walking fields and lifting baskets have left their gentle marks upon him. The younger members of the family naturally make space. No one needs to ask. Respect has become another daily habit. As everyone begins eating, conversation remains soft. Someone speaks about repairing a section of roof before the next strong wind arrives. Another mentions seeing healthy grain in the eastern fields. One child proudly explains that today he helped carry water without spilling very much. The adults smile. It is a small achievement. Yet small achievements deserve quiet recognition. Every capable adult once learned these same simple tasks. One careful step at a time. Beyond the village, evening birds glide low across the river. Their reflections appear briefly upon the calm surface before disappearing into gentle ripples. The Nile itself seems almost sleepy now. Its movement remains constant, yet softer somehow beneath the changing light. The river has become more than water. It has become a quiet companion to every stage of life. Children learn to swim within it. Fishermen trust it. Farmers depend upon it. Merchants travel along it. Old people sit beside it, remembering decades that passed as steadily as the current itself. Every season brings familiar changes. The flood arrives. The water spreads. The fields drink deeply. The river slowly retreats. Planting begins. Growth follows. Harvest arrives. Then the quiet waiting begins once again. These repeating seasons shape the thoughts of everyone who lives nearby. Patience becomes natural. Waiting no longer feels empty. Waiting simply belongs to life. Farther south, another settlement prepares for evening in much the same way. The details differ slightly. Different families. Different workshops. Different fields. Yet the rhythm remains familiar. Smoke rises into the quiet sky. Animals return to their shelters. Cooking fires glow warmly against darkening walls. Workers wash dust from their faces using cool water carried in clay jars. Sandals are left neatly beside doorways. The same peaceful routine unfolds village after village along the river. This quiet sameness stretches for hundreds of miles. It gently ties together communities that may never meet one another. Each village depends upon the same river. Each follows nearly the same seasons. Each wakes before sunrise. Each rests after sunset. The pattern itself becomes stronger than any single person. Even those who travel notice this comforting rhythm. A merchant guiding loaded donkeys along the river road reaches another village just as daylight begins to fade. He has spent many days walking beneath the Egyptian sun. Dust covers his clothing. His sandals show fresh signs of wear. His shoulders feel heavy beneath the weight of long travel. Still, as he enters the settlement, everything feels familiar. Children play. Bread bakes. Voices drift softly through open courtyards. The smell of cooking reaches him before he sees the homes. Although he is far from where he began, the steady customs of the land make him feel welcome. Egypt is vast. Yet its rhythm remains remarkably consistent. That consistency allows strangers to become comfortable more quickly. The merchant knows where to find water. He knows where animals may rest. He understands how the evening meal unfolds. The familiar order of daily life offers quiet reassurance. Not because every village is identical, but because every village shares the same patient heartbeat. Night continues approaching. The western sky slowly deepens from warm gold to gentle shades of amber and rose. Palm trees become darker shapes against the fading light. The first stars wait quietly beyond the bright horizon. Inside one home, a mother fills small oil lamps. She pours oil carefully into each shallow vessel before placing a twisted flax wick inside. As daylight weakens, she lights the first lamp. A tiny flame appears. Then another. Soft golden light settles across the room. The walls glow gently. Shadows move slowly as family members continue preparing for the night. The light is never bright. It does not chase away all darkness. Instead, it simply creates a peaceful space within it. Children gather close to the warm glow. One quietly traces patterns in the dust with a fingertip. Another leans against a parent after a long day filled with small adventures. Outside, the village gradually becomes quieter. The loudest hours have passed. Only scattered conversations remain. Someone laughs softly from a nearby courtyard. A donkey shifts inside its shelter. A dog curls into the dust before closing its eyes. The breeze carries the scent of cooling earth and distant river water. High above, the sky grows deeper with every passing moment. Soon the stars will return, just as they did the night before, and the night before that, stretching back through generations beyond counting. The people of ancient Egypt do not think of stability as something remarkable. To them, it is simply life. It lives in the confidence that bread will be baked again tomorrow. That fields will welcome careful hands. That the Nile will continue its patient journey. That children will wake to another quiet sunrise. That neighbors will greet one another with familiar voices. That work, though demanding, has meaning because it supports family, community, and the gentle rhythm shared by everyone along the river. As darkness slowly settles over the valley, the village grows still, preparing for another peaceful night beneath the endless Egyptian sky, where the steady flow of ordinary days continues as faithfully as the calm waters of the Nile itself. Night settles fully over the valley. The last traces of gold have faded beyond the western desert, leaving the land beneath a wide sky filled with quiet stars. The air, so heavy beneath the afternoon sun, has become pleasantly cool. A gentle breeze slips across the Nile, brushes through tall reeds, and wanders softly between rows of mud brick homes. The village seems smaller beneath the darkness. The busy paths that carried workers throughout the day now rest almost empty. Only a few small oil lamps still burn inside open doorways. Their warm light spills gently onto the dusty ground before fading into the night. The silence is never complete. It is made from many small sounds living peacefully together. A cricket begins its steady song. Somewhere near the river, frogs answer one another across the water. Palm leaves whisper whenever the breeze finds them. Far away, a donkey shifts its weight before becoming still again. These sounds do not disturb the night. They belong to it. Inside one modest home, a family finishes the last pieces of their evening meal. The clay bowls have nearly been emptied. The fresh bread baked only hours before has become softer as it cools. One child carefully gathers the bowls together while another carries a small water jar toward the corner of the room. Even these simple tasks are performed with quiet familiarity. Everyone knows what comes next. The evening always follows the same gentle order. The cooking fire is allowed to grow smaller. The remaining embers continue glowing beneath a thin layer of ash. Tomorrow morning they will help awaken a new flame, saving time and precious fuel. Nothing useful is wasted. Even a few glowing coals carry value into another day. The mother brushes crumbs from the woven mat. The father checks the wooden door before resting the simple bar across it. It offers only modest protection, yet it feels enough. The village itself is familiar. Neighbors know one another. Most faces have been recognized for many years. That quiet trust allows people to sleep peacefully. Outside, an elderly man remains seated beside the wall of his home. He is in no hurry to lie down. The cool evening air eases the stiffness that settled into his joints during the afternoon. He watches the stars appear one after another. He has seen these same stars since childhood. Long before he carried heavy baskets through the fields. Long before his own children were born. Long before his hair slowly turned white beneath the Egyptian sun. The sky has remained patient while many lives quietly passed beneath it. He remembers evenings beside his own father. The conversations were never long. Sometimes they spoke about the coming harvest. Sometimes about repairing a roof before the next flood season. Sometimes they simply watched the stars together without saying anything at all. Silence has never felt uncomfortable here. It has always been another way of sharing time. The old man closes his eyes for a moment. The breeze carries the smell of wet river reeds mixed with warm earth that still holds a little of the day's heat. It is a familiar scent. Comforting. Unchanging. Nearby, two young brothers spread woven reed mats across the floor inside their home. Their younger sister carefully folds linen blankets that were used during the previous night. The room is simple. The walls are smooth but uneven. A few baskets rest against one side. Clay jars stand neatly arranged nearby. Above them, wooden beams support a roof made from reeds packed with mud. Everything has its place. Not because the family owns many things, but because careful order makes daily life easier. The smallest habits quietly shape the largest parts of life. A jar returned to the same corner each evening can be found easily before sunrise. A tool cleaned after work remains ready for tomorrow. A fishing net folded properly lasts through many more seasons. These ordinary choices seem almost invisible. Yet together they create stability. One careful action follows another. One peaceful day supports the next. In another home, an elderly grandmother prepares linen thread beside the light of a small oil lamp. Most people have already finished working. She continues for only a little while longer. Her fingers move slowly now. Age has taken some speed from her hands. It has not taken their skill. She twists the thread carefully, examining each section before winding it into a neat bundle. Tomorrow another family member will use it while repairing clothing. Nothing hurried. Nothing wasted. Outside the village, the fields rest beneath moonlight. Only hours ago they were filled with workers carrying tools, tending crops, and guiding animals through the rich dark soil left by the Nile. Now they appear completely different. The wind bends the grain in slow waves that resemble water moving across the earth. The irrigation channels reflect tiny stars. Even the fields seem to breathe more quietly at night. The river continues flowing beside them. It does not sleep. Its movement remains gentle and constant beneath the moon. Small fish disturb the surface now and then, creating circles that widen before disappearing into darkness. Along the shore, fishing boats remain tied securely to wooden posts. Their ropes creak softly whenever the current shifts. The boats wait patiently. Morning will come soon enough. There is no reason to hurry toward it. Farther downstream, a watchman walks slowly along the edge of a storage building where grain collected from many farms has been carefully protected. His footsteps are measured. The night asks for no great effort. He carries a simple staff and occasionally glances toward the quiet village beyond. Most nights pass without interruption. His task is less about expecting trouble and more about offering reassurance. The knowledge that someone remains awake allows others to sleep more peacefully. His work, though often unnoticed, quietly supports everyone else. Stability is built not only by those who work beneath the sun. It also depends upon those who keep gentle watch through the darkness. Elsewhere, a scribe finishes the final lines of a record begun earlier in the day. The oil lamp flickers softly beside his papyrus. Its small flame casts moving shadows across carefully written columns of neat signs. The document records deliveries of grain from nearby villages. Nothing dramatic fills its pages. Numbers, names, measurements, dates. Simple information preserved with care. Centuries later, many people will admire the great temples of Egypt. Far fewer will think about records like these. Yet without careful counting, supplies become uncertain. Without orderly records, confusion quietly grows. The patient work of scribes helps hold daily life together as surely as the strong hands of builders and farmers. When the writing is complete, he rolls the papyrus gently. The reed pen is cleaned. The ink covered. Nothing is left carelessly exposed overnight. Tomorrow the work will continue. There is comfort in unfinished work waiting peacefully for another morning. Across the village, families gradually settle onto their sleeping mats. The youngest children fall asleep first. Their breathing becomes slow and even. One little boy still holds a smooth stone he collected beside the river that afternoon. He carried it home because its shape pleased him. Now it rests loosely in his hand as sleep quietly arrives. His mother smiles before gently placing the stone beside him. Tomorrow he will remember where he left it. Parents remain awake a little longer. They speak softly about tomorrow's plans. One section of roof needs another layer of mud before the next strong wind. A neighbor has offered help repairing a broken fence. Grain should be carried to the market after sunrise. The donkey will need fresh water before leaving. These conversations are calm. No one speaks with urgency. There is confidence that tomorrow's work can be completed in tomorrow's time. One task after another. Just as it always has been. The village becomes quieter still. Most lamps have now been extinguished. Only a handful remain glowing faintly behind small windows. Above, the stars seem brighter than ever. Without the noise and light of a busy day, the heavens feel vast beyond imagining. Many Egyptians watch these stars throughout their lives. They become familiar companions. Their steady appearance each evening offers another quiet reminder that some things remain dependable. The heavens move in their patient order. The river follows its ancient course. The seasons return. Children become parents. Parents become grandparents. The cycle continues without demanding attention. In the distance, somewhere across the dark fields, an owl calls once. Then silence gently returns. The cool air settles over the rooftops. The mud brick walls slowly release the warmth they gathered during the long afternoon. Inside the homes, people sleep more deeply now. Their hands, tired from carrying baskets, shaping clay, weaving linen, writing records, rowing boats, or tending fields, finally rest. Tomorrow those same hands will begin again. Not because history asks for greatness each day, but because ordinary life quietly asks for care. A loaf of bread must still be baked. Water must still be carried. A child must still be comforted after waking from a dream. A net must still be mended before dawn. A field must still be walked beneath the rising sun. These simple duties are never celebrated with monuments. Yet they become the invisible threads holding the kingdom together. As the night grows deeper, the Nile continues its endless journey beneath the stars, carrying cool reflections along its quiet surface while the villages sleep peacefully beside its banks, trusting that when the first pale light returns over the eastern horizon, another familiar day will begin with the same gentle rhythm that has defined life in ancient Egypt for generations beyond memory. The deepest hours of the night pass almost unnoticed. The stars continue their slow journey across the sky while the villages along the Nile remain wrapped in quiet darkness. The breeze has become cooler now. It slips gently across the river before wandering through groves of date palms, over sleeping fields, and between rows of mud brick homes where nearly every family rests after another long day. The air carries the peaceful smell of damp reeds, cooling earth, old wood, and the last faint traces of cooking fires that burned earlier in the evening. Nothing asks to be hurried. Even time itself seems to move more slowly during these quiet hours. Inside one small home, an oil lamp has burned low. Only a tiny flame remains, rising and falling gently whenever the breeze slips through a narrow opening in the wall. The room is still. Woven baskets rest against one corner. Clay jars stand quietly beside them. A wooden stool casts a long shadow that reaches almost to the sleeping mat spread across the floor. A young child turns gently in sleep. His mother notices without fully waking. She reaches over, pulls the linen blanket a little higher across his shoulders, and closes her eyes once more. The movement is so small that it hardly disturbs the silence. Care often lives inside moments like these. They are too ordinary to be remembered individually. Yet they happen every night in countless homes. A blanket adjusted. A child comforted. A door checked one final time. Water left where it will be easy to find before dawn. These quiet acts rarely become part of written history. Still, they are among the strongest foundations of peaceful family life. Outside, the narrow streets remain empty. The footprints left in the dust during yesterday's busy hours have softened beneath the gentle wind. Tomorrow new footprints will appear. Some will belong to farmers walking toward the fields before sunrise. Others will belong to fishermen carrying their rolled nets. Children will leave smaller prints as they follow parents through the village. By evening, many of those marks will already begin to disappear. The dust remembers only for a short while. Yet the routine continues without interruption. Beyond the houses, the fields lie silent beneath the moon. Grain sways softly whenever the breeze passes across it. The irrigation channels reflect strips of pale light, turning the dark water into quiet mirrors beneath the stars. The work completed yesterday now rests peacefully. No hands touch the soil tonight. No wooden plows move across the earth. The land itself seems to be sleeping. It has earned its rest as the people have. When the full welcome familiar once. Not with excitement. simply with quiet readiness. The Nile flows beside them. Its current grows impatient. It does not rush toward tomorrow. It simply continues, hour after hour, season after season. Many generations have fallen asleep listening to this river. Children have grown into old age beside its banks. Families have built homes, planted fields, raised animals, celebrated harvests, and quietly mourned losses while the water continued its patient journey. The river becomes almost like another member of every household. Always present. Always dependable. Always moving calm purpose. Farther downstream, a small fishing boat rocks gently against its mooring rope. The wooden hull creaks softly with each movement of the current. Inside rests a neatly tied net repaired only yesterday afternoon. Every knot has been checked. Every weak strand replaced. The fisherman who owns it sleeps peacefully now because he knows his work is ready for another morning. Preparation brings rest. A task completed today removes worry from tomorrow. This quiet understanding shapes much of life in Egypt. A roof repaired before the rainy season. Grain stored before the harvest ends. Firewood gathered before supplies grow low. Tools cleaned before nightfall. Each careful habit allows tomorrow to begin with confidence rather than uncertainty. Inside another home, an elderly couple sleeps lightly. Age has changed their nights. They wake more often now than when they were young. The man opens his eyes for a moment and listens. The village remains peaceful. He hears insects singing on the doorway. Somewhere distant, a night bird calls once before becoming silent again. Smiles faintly. Everything sounds exactly as it should. He closes his eyes once more. For someone who has lived many decades, familiar sounds become deeply comforting. The creaking roof beams. The wind brushing against the walls. The distant movement of the Nile. They remind him that another ordinary night continues safely around him. His memories stretch back through many harvests. He remembers carrying water as a young boy. He remembers learning to guide oxen through the fields beside his father. He remembers building the very house where he now sleeps. The walls have been repaired many times. The roof has received fresh reeds more than he can count. Children once filled every corner with litter. Now grandchildren visit instead. Time has changed many things. The rhythm of daily life remains remarkably familiar. That quiet continuity offers own kind of peace. Not every family has the same number of possessions. Some homes contain more storage jars. Some have larger courtyards. Some families keep more animals than others. Yet during the deepest part of the night, these differences seem to. Every household shares the same stars. Every roof cools beneath the same breeze. Every family waits for the same sunrise. The quiet hours belong equally to everyone. Near one edge of the village, a young potter wakes breathing. Tomorrow he hopes to hire a new collection of storage jars. He pictures them in his mind before falling asleep. He thinks about the smooth curve of each vessel. The steady heat needed to kill. The careful timing required before removing them. His thoughts are calm rather than anxious. Years of practice have taught him that good work comes through patience. Clay cannot be rushed. Fire must follow its own pace. Hands must move steadily. These lessons reach far beyond pottery. They quietly shape a person's living. Nearby, a donkey sleeps standing beneath a simple shelter. Its ears twitch occasionally at the sound of insects. Tomorrow will carry sacks of grain toward the market. Today it rests. The animals follow their own routines, familiar companions in village life. Goats settle close together. Dogs hurl into the dust. Chickens remain perched safely above the ground. Every living creature seems to understand that night is a time for stillness. Continues slipping quietly past. The moon slowly crosses the sky. Pale light shifts across rooftops, courtyards, and sleeping fields. Palm trees cast long shadows that move almost too slowly to notice. The darkness begins changing in ways that only careful observers might see. Very gradually, the eastern horizon loses a little of its deep black color. Not yet light. Only the faintest hint that morning will eventually return. Long before sunrise, a few people naturally begin to stir. A baker wakes first. Years of habit have trained his body to greet the day before almost anyone else. He sits quietly for a moment, allowing his eyes to adjust to the darkness. The village remains asleep. He enjoys these peaceful minutes. They belong only to the earliest workers. He steps outside. The air feels wonderfully against his face after the warmth of yesterday. Above him, countless stars still shine. The Nile reflects many of them, making the river appear as though it carries the night sky upon its surface. He walks toward the oven. Yesterday carefully protected embers still hide beneath a blanket ash. He kneels slowly. Gentle hands, he brushes the ash aside. Tiny red points of warmth reign alive beneath the gray surface. He smiles quietly. Only a little dry straw is needed. A few thin sticks. Then careful breathing. Soon a small flame appears. Not sudden. Not dramatic. Just a gentle beginning. The first fire of a new day rises exactly as it has for generations. Before long, another household awakens. Then another. A woman steps outside carrying empty water jars. The streets remain peaceful. Only a few neighbors are already awake. They greet one another with soft voices that seem almost too quiet to disturb the village. Their footsteps gently across the packed earth. The world is not fully awakened. It stretches slowly, patiently, without haste. The eastern sky becomes a little lighter. Birds hidden among the reeds begin their first gentle calls. The breeze carries cool scent of fresh river water toward the village. Doors begin opening one by one. A child rubs sleepy eyes while standing beside a doorway. An elderly man stretches stiff shoulders before reaching for his sandals. Sun sweeps yesterday dust from a small yard. Someone else unties a goat before leading it toward fresh grazing. The same familiar movements return. Not because anyone demands them. Because they have become part natural rhythm of living. Each morning begins quietly. Each day unfolds through simple work. Each evening returns people safely to their homes. These steady cycles are not interruptions to history. They are history. The strength of ancient Egypt does not rely in towering temples or finely carved stone. It also lives in these peaceful dawns, when ordinary people greet their ordinary day with calm hands, patient hearts, and quiet confidence that the Nile will continue to flow beside them, just as it always has, carrying the promise of another day shaped not by sudden change, but by the enduring comfort of stability. The first true light of dawn slowly spreads across the eastern horizon. It does not arrive all at once. Instead, the darkness gently loosens its hold upon the valley, allowing soft shades of blue and pale gold rise above the distant edge of the world. One by one, the brightest stars quietly disappear, leaving only a few lights lingering of the western desert. The Nile welcomes the morning before anyone else. Its calm surface catches the earliest light, turning dark water into ribbons of silver that drift silently between green riverbanks. Small ripples travel outward whenever a fish rises near the surface. Reeds gently in the coolies, their quiet rustling becoming one of the first sounds of another day. The river has greeted mornings like this for longer than anyone remember. Long before the oldest stories were spoken. Long before the first villages grew beside its banks. long before the names of kings were carved into stone. Morning has always come to the Nile, the same patient grace. In the village, the first smoke begins rising into the cool air. The baker's fire, started while most families still slept, has grown warm enough to awaken the clay oven. The smell of burning straw mixes gently with dry warm earth. Soon the scent of fresh bread follows, drifting slowly through streets where only a handful of people are awake. The fragrance reaches nearby homes before the sunlight does. A woman opens her wooden door and pauses for a moment. She breathes deeply. The cool morning air feels gentle against her face. For a few quiet moments she simply stands there, looking toward the river while the village slowly wakes around her. She hears distant birds calling marshes. She hears someone weeping a courtyard. She hears the quiet splash of water as another neighbor fills clay jars near the well. These sounds have welcomed almost every morning of her life. They are as familiar as the sound of her own footsteps. She carries 2 empty jars toward the well. Their rounded sides gently touch each other with a soft play note as she walks. The path beneath her sandals is from years of use. Tiny pebbles press lightly beneath each step. Dust settles quietly around her feet. She passes several meters along the way. No long conversations begin. Morning belongs more to quiet greetings than to many words. There will be time for speaking later. For now, everyone seems content to share the peaceful beginning of another day. At the well, several women lower bucket carefully into cool water. The rope slides across worn wood with a familiar sound. Handle steadily. The heavy bucket rises. Water glimmers in the growing light before being poured carefully into waiting jars. But a single movement is wasted. Every action has been practiced through many years. The jars feel cool against their hands. For a little while, the fresh water offers relief from the everyone knows will turn before midday. Nearby, a young girl watches her mother balance a full jar on her head. She has seen this countless times. Sometimes she practices with an empty bucket, trying to imitate the careful balance. Today her mother smiles and allows her to carry a much smaller vessel. The girl walks very slowly. Both hands remain firmly around the clay. Her steps are careful. The jar wobbles once. She steadies it quickly. When they reach home without spilling the water, her quiet smile says more than words could. One small lesson has become part of her memory. Years from now, she may barely remember learning it. Her body will simply know. Throughout Egypt, children learn in this gentle way. Daily life itself becomes the classroom. Nearby, the baker removes the loaves from the oven. Warm steam rises into the cool morning air. The bread crackles softly as it begins to cool. The golden crust catches the early sunlight. He places each loaf upon woven reed trays before returning for another. The rhythm never changes very much. Open the oven. Lift the bread. Place it carefully. Begin again. His hands move almost without conscious thought. Experience has become second nature. He knows the color that tells him the bread is ready. He knows the smell. He knows the dull sound of the crust cools. These are lessons that cannot be hurried. They belong to years rather than days. Across the village, animals begin their own familiar routines. Goats step from the shelters and stretch legs after the quiet. A small flock of ducks waddles toward a narrow canal, their feet leaving tiny marks in the damp soil. Chickens scratch gently beneath palm trees, searching patiently through yesterday's fallen leaves. A donkey shakes dust from its coat before accepting a simple rope harness. Soon it will help carry baskets of grain toward the fields. The animals know these mornings almost as well as the people do. Their lives follow this dependable rhythm. An elderly farmer steps outside, carrying wooden hoe polished smooth by decades of use. He pauses beginning the day's work, not because uncertain, simply because he enjoys this peaceful hour before the sun grows strong. He looks across the fields. Thin morning mist still close to the ground. The young grain glistens with tiny drops of moisture gathered during the cool night. Palm trees stand perfectly still. Far on them, the dirt hills remain beneath pale light. He has seen this view thousands of times. Yet it never feels ordinary. Its familiarity itself becomes beautiful. There is comfort in seeing something dependable. The fields reassure him without speaking. They remind him that another season continues exactly as expected. Soon other farmers join him upon the dusty road. Wooden tools rest across their shoulders. Some carry small baskets containing simple morning meals. Others lead oxen at an easy pace. No one walks quickly. The day is long. There is no need to hurry toward it. Conversation runs gentle. One man quietens that the irrigation channel near Hild will need clearing or too much silt. Another says he noticed healthy young plants after yesterday's watering. Someone else speaks of helping a neighbor repair a damaged fence once today's work is complete. The words are practical, kind, unhurried. The farmers understand that every household depends upon many others. One family owns healthy oxen. Another may have skilled carpenters. Someone else knows how to repair irrigation gates. No single person can manage every task alone. Quiet cooperation strengthens the village as surely as fertile soil strengthens the harvest. Near the riverbank, fishermen untie their boats. Morning light now spreads fully across water. The sky reflects softly upon the calm current. One by one, the boats push away from shore. Oars enter the river almost without a splash. The fishermen speak very little. They know one another well enough that silence feels comfortable. The river itself seems to encourage quiet voices. The sound of water against wood becomes enough. One older fisherman pauses before casting his net. He studies the current carefully. Years have taught him where fish prefer to gather during different seasons. He notices small ripples near a patch of reeds. He smiles softly. Not excitement. From quiet understanding. The river continues teaching those willing to observe patiently. Nothing about it can be forced. The current cannot be commanded. The fish cannot be hurried. Success comes through paying attention. The same lesson appears again and again throughout Egyptian life. Patience rules careful people. Across the settlement, scribes begin another morning inside cool administrative buildings. Papyrus scrolls are carefully unrolled. Reed pens are trimmed. Fresh ink is prepared. The room remains peaceful. Only the gentle scratching of pen fills the air. Records continue exactly where yesterday ended. Grain entering storage. Tools issued to workers. Name written carefully in neat columns. These simple records seem ordinary. Perhaps even dull. Yet they quietly report the remarkable stability of the kingdom. When grain is counted honestly, families eat. When workers receive proper tools, buildings rise steadily. When supplies are carefully recorded, little is forgotten. Order grows from countless small acts of attention. Outside, the village is now fully awake. Children carry small baskets. Women prepare vegetables for the day's meals. Craftsmen open workshop doors to welcome the cool morning breeze before the afternoon heat arrives. The smell of fresh bread mingles with damp earth, river water, smoke, and newly cut reeds. Dust begins rising once more beneath familiar sandals. Yesterday has gently become today. Today will slowly become tomorrow. And through this quiet cycle morning after morning, season after season, Generation after generation the steady rhythm of ordinary people continues to shape ancient Egypt, not through grand moments remembered by history, but through countless peaceful dawns where each simple task begins again beneath the gentle light rising over the faithful water of the Nile. The sun is a little higher at the eastern horizon. Its light spreads slowly across the valley, reaching first the tops of the date palms, then the flat roofs of the mud brick homes, and finally the narrow paths that wind between the fields. The coolness of dawn still lingers in the air, though everyone knows it will not remain for long. For now, the morning belongs to gentle work. The village has fully awakened, but no one seems to hurry. People step into the new day with the calm confidence that comes following familiar routines. There is comfort knowing what the morning will ask of them. The tasks are not surprising. They are simply waiting just as they were yesterday, and the day before that, and through many years before. From one doorway emerges a young woman carrying a woven basket filled with freshly baked bread. A clean linen cloth covers the warm loaves, keeping them soft while she walks toward her father's workshop. As she passes through the village, neighbors greet her with quiet smiles. Some are already sweeping the dust from their courtyards. Others kneel beside clay ovens, preparing another round of baking. An elderly woman sprinkles water across the packed earth outside her doorway to keep the dust from rising too quickly once more people begin walking through the street. It is a small task. Few people would ever notice it. Yet it makes the path more pleasant for everyone. Much of daily life in Egypt depends upon these small acts of consideration. Someone clears loose stones from a Someone repairs a cracked water jar before it begins leaking. Someone trims broken reeds from a before the next strand arrives. These quiet habits rarely receive praise. Still, they gently improve the lives of everyone nearby. The workshop she approaches belongs to her father, a carpenter whose hands have shaped wood for many decades. He arrived before sunrise. Already, the smell of freshly cut acacia fills the cool room. Wood shavings cover the floor beneath a sturdy workbench polished smooth by years of use. Simple tools hang neatly along one wall. A saw, wooden mat, copper chisels, bow drills. Each has its own place. Nothing is left scattered. The carpenter believes that careful order saves both time and effort. He learned this from his own father. Now his son watches and slowly learns the same lesson. The young boy stands quietly nearby, holding a small piece of wood. His task this morning is simple. He smooths rough edges using a piece of sandstone. The work requires patience more than strength. At first, his movements are uneven. Sometimes he presses too hard. Sometimes too softly. His father does not hurry to correct him. Instead, he demonstrates once. Then hands the wood back. The boy tries again. Learning arrives through repetition. No one expects perfection. Only steady improvement. The carpenter pauses to eat a piece of warm bread. He thanks his daughter with a gentle nod before returning to his work. Soon the steady rhythm begins once more. The sound of wood being shaped is calm and measured. A quiet scrape. A gentle tap. The soft whisper of sandstone smoothing rough grain. Nothing echoes loudly. The workshop seems to breathe with peaceful purpose. Not far away, a potter prepares fresh clay gathered from the riverbank. He kneels beside a shallow basin, slowly adding water while mixing the clay with patient hands. The cool earth slips between his fingers. He presses gently, removing tiny stones that might weaken the finished vessel. This careful preparation takes almost as much time as shaping the pot itself. Good work begins long before anyone sees the final result. He forms the clay into smooth rounded pieces and places them beneath a damp cloth. They rest for a little while before he begins shaping them. Even clay benefits from patience. Everything seems to have its proper time. Another carefully paints upon a finished jar. His brush moves slowly. The patterns are modest. Small lines. Gentle curves. Simple plants growing beside the Nile. Flying birds. Nothing hurried. Nothing excessive. Beauty enters daily life quietly. A storage jar does not need elaborate decoration to be appreciated. A few careful marks are enough. Outside the workshop, the marketplace begins to grow busier. Merchants arrive carrying woven baskets balanced across their shoulders. Some bring onions gathered only yesterday. Others carry fresh dates, figs, garlic, herbs, or bundles of papyrus reeds. A man guides 2 donkeys loaded with sacks of grain. The animals walk patiently beside him, their steady footsteps matching his own. Stalls are arranged simple woven shit offer protection from the strengthening. Clay jars are lined up neatly. Bundles of linen are folded carefully. Fresh fish rest upon beds of damp reeds to keep them cool. Nothing about the marketplace feels rushed. People arrive gradually. Conversations begin naturally. Customers examine vegetables with quiet attention. Merchants answer questions honestly. Many know one another by name. Some families have traded together for years. Trust grows slowly through repeated fairness. A merchant who weighs grain honestly today will likely see the same customer tomorrow. A family that sells fresh bread morning becomes familiar throughout the village. Reputation is built one ordinary exchange at a time. A young boy walks through the market carrying a small basket for his mother. Inside are a few carefully measured pieces of copper given for trading. He has been with this responsibility for the first time. He walks carefully, repeating his mother's instructions quietly to himself. Fresh onions. A handful of lentils. Nothing else. He reaches the vegetable seller and greets the older woman politely. She smiles warmly. She remembers when his mother was a little girl making the very same morning journey. The exchange takes only a few moments. She measures vegetables fairly. He thanks her before beginning the walk home. His basket little heavier now. So does his sense of responsibility. Another small lesson has quietly become part of growing up. Along the edge of the marketplace sits an elderly basket maker. His work no longer depends upon speed. Years have slowed his hands, but they have also filled them with remarkable skill. Long strips of reed rest beside him. One by one, he bends them carefully into place. Each strand crosses her. Each corner becomes stronger. The basket slowly takes shape. People passing nearby occasionally pause to watch. Not because the work is exciting. Because there is something peaceful about watching someone perform a craft they have practiced for a lifetime. His hands hesitate. They know exactly where each reed belongs. The basket seems to grow most by itself. In truth, it was from decades of quiet experience. The morning continues unfolding beneath an increasingly warm sky. Along the riverbank, women kneel beside smooth stones, washing linen in the cool water. They dip the cloth beneath the surface, rub it gently against the stone, rinse it again, spread it across reeds or low bushes to dry beneath the growing sunlight. The wet linen catches and moves soft. Night, children carefully in the shallow water while old brothers and sisters keep watch. Their light drifts across the river before fading into the gentle sounds of birds and flowing water. Life beside the Nile is never completely silent. Yet even busiest moments carry a feeling of calm. The river encourages patience. Its steady current reminds everyone that there is no need for hurried movement. A fisherman returning briefly to shore pauses beside one washing places. He fills a clay cup with cool water and drinks slowly. The river reflects brightening sky around him. He notices fish gathering nears. A kingfisher waits upon a branch before diving with timing. Within moments rises again breakfast. The fisherman watches quietly. Nature has its own routines. The birds rise each morning. The fish follow the reeds sway with the breeze. People are only one small part of this larger rhythm. As the sun climbs higher, more workers begin making their way to building sites farther from the village. Some wooden levers. Others bend baskets upon their shoulders. Stone workers bring copper chisels wrapped carefully in linen to protect their edge. The walk is steady. The conversation remains light. No one's glory or fame. Mostly discuss the work getting ahead. A wall to mend. Stone to smooth. Tools need repair. Water jars to refill before midday. The great monuments that later generations admire begin with mornings exactly like this. Hundreds of old people leaving their homes together beneath the rising sun. Each carrying simple tools. Each trust was beside them. Each adding more quiet day of effort to work that may continue for many years. No single morning builds a temple. No single afternoon raises a great stone. The strength is in returning again tomorrow. And the next day. And the season after that. Facility is not created by one remarkable moment. It grows through thousands of full mornings that look very much alike. The markets, the workshops, the river, the fields, and the home all continue moving together like parts of one gentle rhythm. Bread is baked. Clay is shaped. Wood is carved. Grain is measured. Water is carried. Children learn. Elders teach. Neighbors greet one another with familiar voices. The Nile flowed quietly beside them all, reflecting the bright morning sky as another ordinary day continues to unfold with the calm, dependable rhythm that has come to define life in ancient Egypt. Morning continues with hurry. The sun has now climbed well above the horizon, filling the valley with a warm golden light that reaches into every courtyard, workshop, and narrow street. The cool air of dawn slowly begins to fade, the full heat of midday still some time away. This gentle stretch of the morning is often the most comfortable part of the day. People know it well. It is the hour when the body feels strong at night's rest, when the hands move easily, and when the mind naturally into familiar work. Along the edge of the village, where the rock soil meets the sand of the desert, a farmer kneels beside a small irrigation channel. The water flowing the Nile has carried tiny pieces of silt into the narrowed. A simple wooden tool, he carefully removes the soft mud, placing it along the edge of the bank. The work is not difficult. It simply requires attention. If the channel remains clear, the water will continue its quiet journey toward the growing crops. If it becomes blocked, the earth beyond it will slowly become dry. Such a small channel might seem unimportant to someone passing by. Yet the farmer understands that the smallest paths often carry the greatest gifts. Water reaches the fields one stream at a time. Pauses for a moment, dipping both hands into the flow. The water feels refreshing against his skin. Tiny ripple across the surface before disappearing once more. He watches them quietly. There is something calming about moving water. Never seems impatient. It follows the path for it. Many people beside the Nile learn from its example without ever speaking about it. Nearby, two oxen pull a wood plow through soft earth. Their broad shoulders move with slow, steady strength. They know the field almost as well as the farmer does. Each turn arrives where expected. Each straight follows the one before. The farmer guides them with calm words rather than loud commands. Animals respond to the familiar sound of his voice. They have worked together through many growing seasons. Trust has quietly formed between them. At the edge of the field, a boy carries a bag with seeds. His father's into it every steps, scattering grain across the turned soil. The boy watches carefully. He knows how evenly the seeds spread. Too many in once would crowd one another. Too few would leave empty spaces. Even planting requires patience and balance. His father says very little. The lesson lives inside the work itself. Years from now, the boy's hands will remember these movements without needing to think about them. The wisdom of the land passively from one generation to the next. Not through grand speeches, but through countless quiet mornings spent side by side. Farther along the river, fishermen continue their patient work. The sunlight sparkles across the water now, creating thousands of tiny points of light that dance with every small ripple. One fisherman slowly gathers his net. Small silver fish glisten inside the woven threads. He removes each one carefully, placing them into a damp basket lined with reeds. Nothing is rushed. A torn net would mean many hours of repair. Gentle hands save time. Nearby, another boat drifts almost silently with the current. The fisherman rests his oar across his knees for a few moments. He does nothing. He simply allows the river to carry him. Above him, white birds circle lazily through the brightening sky. Reeds sway soft along the shoreline. The world feels completely untroubled. There are moments in every day when work naturally pauses. These quiet pauses are not wasted. They allow tired souls to recover. They give the eyes time to notice beauty that might otherwise pass unseen. The fisherman watches a dragonfly skim low across water. Its wings catch for only a moment, appears among the reeds. Smiles gently. Then he lifts the oar once more. Continues. So does the day. Back in the village, the sounds of craftsmanship grow steadier. The carpenter shapes another wooden wool. His son carefully gathers the curled weavings into a basket. The potter begins forming fresh jars upon his wheel. The weaver guides linen threads across a loom with calm vision. Inside the metal worker's workshop, copper glows softly within a charcoal fire. The hammer rises, then falls. It carries through the oil. Tap, pause, tap, pause. Each strike changes the metal a little. Yet after many careful blows, a useful tool slowly appears. The work reminds anyone watching that great changes often happen through many small efforts rather than one great action. An elderly woman passes through the workshop carrying a clay jar. She pauses to meet the craftsman. Their conversation lasts only a few moments. She asks about his family. He asks whether her grandson had recovered from a recent illness. Both smile warmly before continuing their separate ways. These small conversations weave the village together. No announcement records them. No scribe writes them upon papyrus. Yet they quietly strengthen the bonds between neighbors. People know one another's joys. They know one another's worries. They offer help without making it seem like a burden. When a roof needs repairing, several hands appear. When a family celebrates a birth, others bring food. When someone grows old and their steps become slower, younger neighbors naturally carry heavier loads. The strength of Egypt lies not only in its fields and buildings. It also lives inside these simple acts of kindness repeated every day. Near the center of the settlement, several scribes work beneath the shade of a covered courtyard. The mudbrick walls keep the room pleasantly cool despite the growing warmth outside. Bundles of papyrus lie neatly arranged upon wooden shelves. Clay seals rest beside carefully measured weights. One scribe records the amount of grain recently delivered from nearby farms. Another checks lists prepared the day before. Their work demands patience more than speed. Each mark must be clear. Each number must be correct. Mistakes create confusion. Creates order. The crashing sound of pens moving across papyrus fills the quiet room. No one speaks loudly. There is no need. The work itself encourages calm attention. Outside the courtyard, children carry small bundles of firewood gathered earlier that morning. The sticks are not heavy, but they are enough to help prepare the evening meal. One little girl proudly carries several pieces tucked carefully beneath her. She walks with determination, taking slow, thoughtful steps. Her grandmother meets her at the door. "You carried them all by yourself," she says softly. The child smiles with quiet-eyed. It is a small contribution. Yet in Egypt, small contributions matter. Every family depends upon little efforts. Share everyone. No task is too humble. No helping hand is too small. As the sun climbs higher, the shadows begin shortening. The warmth slowly settles across the valley once again. Workers notice it immediately. Some wrap fresh linen around their heads. Others pause briefly beneath palm trees for a drink of cool water stored inside clay jars. The jars themselves have remained in the shade all morning. Their thick walls keep the water pleasantly cool. One builder lifts a cup slowly. The water tastes fresh. He drinks without hurry, then wipes a few drops from his beard before returning to work. Nearby, another worker sits for a few moments upon a smooth stone. He removes one cell and gently brushes away the fine dust that has gathered beneath it. A tiny pebble has been pressing against his foot. He laughs quietly to himself. Such a small thing had made each step just a little more uncomfortable. After shaking the pebble away, he slips the sandal back on. The next steps feel much easier. Some time for it returns through simplest changes. Beyond the village, caravans move slowly along distant desert paths. Their donkeys carry goods between settlements separated by many days of travel. The pace remains steady. No animal is pushed beyond its strength. Travelers know that reaching their destination safely matters far more than arriving quickly. The desert teaches patience just as surely as the river does. Its endless open spaces encourage careful planning. Water must be protected. Animals must rest. Shade must be welcomed whenever it appears. Every journey succeeds through thoughtful preparation rather than haste. Back beside the Nile, the water continues flowing with quiet certainty. It asks for nothing. It simply gives. Fresh water for drinking. Rich soil for planting. Fish for families. A path for boats carrying people and goods from village to village. Children continue growing up beside its banks, just as their parents and grandparents once did. They learn to recognize the changing colors of the water during different seasons. They learn where birds build nests among the reeds. They learn how the breeze feels before the flood begins to rise. These lessons become part of everyday life. No one separates the elves from the river. It is woven into every ordinary day. The sun climbs a little higher still. The village grows warmer. The steady rhythm of work continues without complaint. Fields receive careful attention. Workshops remain busy. Bread falls upon woven trays. Fishing boats drift gently upon the Nile. Children learn by watching. Elders teach through patient example. Across the fertile valley, another peaceful morning slowly unfolds, held together by countless ordinary people whose quiet dedication, repeated day after day, gives ancient Egypt the remarkable stability that allows life to move forward with calm confidence beneath the ever-faithful sky. As the morning slowly approaches its middle hours, the valley begins to glow beneath the sun. The gentle coolness that welcomed the first worker before dawn has almost completely disappeared. Warmth now settles across the fields, the riverbanks, and the flat rooftops of the villages. Even so, heat has not yet reached its greatest strength. There is still time for many important tasks before the afternoon asks everyone to seek more frequent changes everything it touches. Mud brick walls looked pale in the early now carry rich shades of warm brown. Palm trees cast shorter shadows across dusty paths. The quiet surface of the Nile shines so brightly that those rowing small boats narrow their eyes against the reflection. The day continues familiar rhythm. Nothing feels unexpected. Nothing asks for sudden decisions. The people of Egypt have learned to share work around the movement of the sun rather than asking the sun to change for them. Near a broad stretch of farmland, several families work together where the irrigation channels divide into many small streams. The water must be guided carefully. A simple barrier made from packed earth is gently opened. Cool water begins flowing toward one section of it. Another barrier remains closed until its turn arrives. No field receives everything at once. Each patiently receives what it needs. The farmers understand that fairness both crops and neighbors healthy. If one family takes too much water, another family may lose part of its harvest. Because of this, cooperation matters as much as hard work. The men and women quietly as they move small barriers. One points toward a place where the bank has begun to crumble. Another kneels beside it with a basket earth. Together this fresh mud into weak place until channel once again holds its shape. The repair takes only a few minutes. Yet without it, many hours of careful watering could have lost. It is another reminder that small acts often protect much larger things. A little farther away, an older farmer pauses beneath the shade of a sycamore fig tree. Its branches offer welcome shelter from the strengthening sun. He lowers himself to a smooth stone worn by many years of resting travelers. Beside him stand a clay jar filled with cool water. He sits carefully only a little. There is enough for later. Enough for others who may pass this way. The tree has offered aid to many generations. Children once climbed its branches while waiting for parents working nearby. Young couples rest beneath it after carrying heavy baskets. Old men share quiet conversations there while watching seasons change. That's become part of the village. No one knows exactly who planted it. Perhaps that no longer matters. Gift continues every day without asking for recognition. Along the other path, a woman walks toward the fields carrying woven baskets easily upon it. Inside are onions, flat loaves of bread, dried fish, and several small figs. Brings the midday meal family. The basket is especially heavy. Still, the journey requires steady balance. She has made the same walk through every season. She knows where the ground becomes uneven. She knows which stones remain loose after strong winds. She knows where wildflowers sometimes appear beside the irrigation ditches after the flood season has ended. As she walks, she notices a young girl carrying a much smaller basket. The child smiles shyly. Inside her basket are only 2 loaves of bread wrapped in linen. It is her firm delivering food alone. The older woman slows her pace. Without making the child feel uncertain, she walks beside her for part of the journey. They speak quietly about the birds flying overhead and the flower growing beside the wall. When reached the edge of the fields, the child continues confidently toward her own family. Sometimes guidance is offered without making it feel like instruction. That is often how wisdom travels through generations. Near the river, several men unload bundles of papyrus freshly gathered from the marshes. The tall green stalks are stacked neatly in the shade before being prepared for many different uses. Some will become writing material. Some will be woven to mats. Others will be used in making baskets or small boats. Very little of the plant is wasted. The workers separate each bundle with practiced hands. Their movements are calm and efficient. One younger worker asks an older man how to choose the strongest stalks. The elder picks up two nearly identical pieces. He bends each one gently. One flexes without breaking. The other snaps with a dry sound. "There," he says quietly, handing the stronger stalk back. No long explanation follows. The lesson has already been given. Knowledge often passes from one pair of hands to another far more easily than any words. Not far from the marshes, a group of women sits together beneath a woven shade, preparing vegetables for the evening meal long before sunset arrives. The onions are peeled. Beans are sorted. Fresh herbs are tied into small bundles. Their hands remain busy while their conversation moves gently from one subject to another. Someone speaks about a grandson who has begun learning to write. Another remembers the flood many years ago that reached farther into the fields than expected. A young woman asks how to bread softer during especially dry weather. An older shares a method she learned from her owner decades before. The advice is simple. Wrap the warm look clean linen while you are still slight warm. The cloth holds just enough moisture. Such small pieces of knowledge are precious. They are passed along naturally, become part of ordinary conversation. Many generations quietly improve daily life in this way. Nearby, children gather beneath another tree where the shade has become larger as the sun climbs higher. Some shape little figures from damp clay gather beside the river. One makes a tiny boat. Another shapes a bird with wide wings. A third carefully presses small seeds into the clay to create simple patterns. Their creations are meant to last. By tomorrow many will have dried, cracked, or been returned to the earth. That does not limit their joy. Children understand that not everything beautiful must reign forever. Their laughter rises softly into the warmth before drifting away on the breeze. Across the village, a weaver pauses for a short rest. The loom has been busy since shortly at sunrise. Long strips of linen now hang neatly from the wood frame. She gently stretched her fingers. The steady work left them stiff. She poured water from a clay into a small cup and drinks slowly. Nearby, her granddaughter watches the woven cloth move slightly with the breeze. The child reaches out carefully, feeling the smooth surface between her fingertips. The grandmother smiles. "This began as flax growing beside the river," she says softly. The little girl looks surprised. It is difficult for her to imagine that the soft cloth once grew from the earth. The grandmother tells her how the flax harvested, dried, soaked, beaten, combed into fibers, spun into thread, and finally woven upon the loom. The child listens with quiet wonder. She begins to understand every useful object has its own story. Nothing appears by itself. Every basket, every sand, every loaf of bread, every fishing net, every clay jar. Someone gave their time and care to create it. As the sun continues slow climb, builders working with limestone pause briefly beneath temporary piers made from woven reeds. The bright stone reflects the sunlight strongly. Dust clings to their skin. One worker gently pours water over his hands before washing his face. The coolness lasts only a moment, but it feels refreshing. Another worker carefully sharpens the edge of a copper chisel using smooth stone. A dull tool demands more effort. A sharp one makes the work easier. Taking time for maintenance is never considered wasted. It is simply another part of working well. A foreman walks quietly among the workers. He does not shout. He checks measurements with careful eyes. He watches how the stones fit together. If one needs slight adjustment, he points gently toward it. The builders understand. Stone is lifted or a little more is trimmed away. Now it rests perfectly beside the others. One careful correction prevents larger problems later. The same quiet principle appears again and again throughout Egyptian life. Do small things well. Allow time for careful work. Trust steady effort more than hurried movement. Back in the village, smoke begins rising from several homes once again. Simple meals are being warmed before the hottest hours of the day. The smell of lentils cooking with onions drifts through the streets. Fresh herbs release their gentle fragrance into the warm air. Bread baked before sunrise is sliced and shared among family members returning briefly from nearby work. A little shade. Little food. A little cool water. These modest comforts restore both body and spirit. No one expects luxury. Simple things, received with gratitude, are enough. Above the village, the sky is brilliantly clear. Only a few birds sail lazily upon currents of warm air. The Nile flows steadily beneath them, carrying boats, reflections, and quiet memories toward towns that begin their own ordinary mornings much the same way. Everywhere along the river, the pattern repeats. Tended with care, workshops with patient hands. Children learning through gentle observation. Neighbors helping one another without being asked. Meals prepared with simple ingredients. Water carried in familiar clay jars. The strength of ancient Egypt continues to grow almost invisibly through these countless ordinary moments, each one as quiet as the flowing river, each one adding another peaceful thread to the enduring fabric of a civilization shaped not by haste, but by hearts, careful hands, and the comforting rhythm of everyday life. The morning slowly begins to lean toward day. The sun now stands high above Nile Valley, its bright light almost straight down upon the fields and villages. The long shadows that stretched across the earth at sunrise have become short and gentle. The warmth grows strong with each passing moment, yet life continues with the same quiet rhythm that has carried Egypt through countless generations. No one seems surprised by the changing temperature. The people have known the sun all their lives. They understand its habits as well as they understand the movement of the river. They know when to work with steady aim. They know when to pause beneath shade. They know that patience is often wiser than speed beneath the dead sky. Near one of the larger grain fields, a group of workers finishes the last rows of the morning's labor. Wooden tools are carefully upon ground. No one throws them aside. Each tool has required time to make. Each has helped feed fast through many seasons. A young gently brushes from the smooth wooden handle of his hoe before leaning it against a tree. His father watches with quiet approval. Respect for tools is another lesson that begins early in life. A well-cared-for tool serves faithfully for many years. A neglected one quickly becomes difficult to use. The same careful attention given to fields is given to the objects that help tend them. Nearby, several women spread woven mats beneath the broad shade of a sycamore tree. The tree has stood beside the field for longer than anyone can remember. Its branches stretch wide, offering cool shelter from the growing heat. Many travelers pause beneath it. Farmers rest there during the warmest hours. Children gather beneath its leaves whenever games become too tiring beneath open sun. Its roots reach deep into the rich soil, quietly drinking from the moisture below. It asks for nothing in return. One by one, workers gather beneath its shade. Simple baskets are opened. Fresh bread wrapped in linen is placed upon the mats. Small bowls of lentils, onions, beans, and herbs are shared among family members. A fisherman who has walked inland from the river contributes several freshly caught fish, cooked earlier, or a small fire. No one measures who has brought more. The meal belongs to everyone sitting together. Hands reach toward the bread. Pieces are broken gently. Food passes from one person to another without ceremony. The conversations remain soft. One older man speaks about repairing part of an irrigation gate after the afternoon rest. A younger woman asks whether anyone has seen the first blossoms appearing near the western fields. Another worker quietly mentions that his donkeys become slower with age and may soon need lighter work. Several neighbors immediately begin discussing ways to help. One offers to lend another animal during harvest. Another says he has extra leather that could repair the worn harness. The conversation feels natural. No one speaks of kindness as though it were unusual. Helping one another is simply another ordinary part of village life. When the meal is finished, nobody rises immediately. The hottest part of the day has begun. The shade feels pleasant. A gentle breeze moves through the leaves above, carrying the distant scent of river water. Some people stretch their tired legs. Others lean comfortably against the rough trunk of the tree. A little boy places his head upon his mother's lap. Within moments his breathing becomes slow and even. The morning has filled him with enough adventures. Now sleep arrives quietly. His mother smiles as she brushes a little dust from his hair. Around it, conversations gradually fade. Silence gently returns. It is not an empty silence. It is a peaceful one. The kind shared by people who are comfortable in one another's company. No one feels the need to fill every moment with words. The wind moving through the branches says enough. Across the valley, similar scenes fold beneath many other trees. The rhythm of the day encourages everyone toward the same gentle pause. In one village, builders rest beneath a shelter made from woven reeds. They remove their sandals for a few moments, allowing tired feet to cool upon the packed earth. One worker carefully massages his hands. His palms are rough from lifting stone. Tiny lines of white limestone dust remain across his fingers despite washing them earlier. He studies his hands quietly. These hands have carried thousands of baskets. They have pushed wooden sledges across prepared roads. They have shaped blocks that will remain standing long after he is gone. Yet his thoughts are not on monuments. They are on home. He wonders whether his youngest daughter remembered to feed the family's goats this morning. He hopes the roof repair completed last week will hold through the next windy season. His life, like the lives of most people around him, is centered far more upon family than fame. The great works of Egypt are built by people whose hearts remain close to ordinary things. Nearby, another builder removes a small piece of linen from his belt. Inside is a simple lunch saved for later. He carefully folds it again. The afternoon is still long. There is no reason to eat everything now. Saving a little for later has become second nature. Careful planning quietly supports peaceful living. At a riverbank, boats have been tied securely beneath patches of shade where the current moves gently against the shore. The fishermen also pause. Nets are spread neatly so dry. One elderly fisherman examines each knot while sitting comfortably upon an overturned basket. He notices a small section where the cord has been weakened. Without waiting for it to break, he begins repeating. His fingers move easily. Thread passes through thread. A new knot replaces the old. The repair is almost invisible. One of the younger fishermen watches him for a while. "You could fix that tomorrow," he says. The older man smiles. "I could," he replies softly. "But tomorrow it might become a larger repair." The younger man nods. He understands. A little care today often prevents much harder work later. The lesson reaches far beyond fishing nets. In another part of the village, an elderly woman sits beside the doorway of her home spinning flax into thread. The spindle turns slowly between her fingers. She no longer spins as quickly as she once did. There is no need. Her days are measured differently now. She enjoys the quiet movement, the gentle turning, the soft feel of the fibers becoming smooth thread. Her granddaughter sits nearby weaving